I'm going to talk about Mariam's dilemma. About a new presentation, and later, when their expectations aren't met within the time frame they have themselves conceived, they come back to her to ask what they are going to do to get out of their problems. So one new friend wrote to her saying that since she became a new friend, all her life has changed for the worse. Illnesses, diabolical attacks, visible and invisible, and other incomprehensible situations. So she asked Mariam what should she do to get relief. And this is corroborated by one Congo new friend who wrote to me personally. His name is Jeff. He says nothing is going right. And in the second message, he says all the new friends in the Congo have become poor. So, but I'm wondering if he wants me to intercede for him before Duane, much in the same way as the priest intercedes for the downtrodden Christians before God. What? I don't know. So I see in these complaints a carryover from Christianity and the spiritual and occult parts, where someone they perceive is well placed can carry their problems to a higher power, be the master of anything, who turns them over to the Holy Spirit. So maybe they thought that joining the new presentation was a shortcut to resolving certain personal issues. And things have not only not improved, but changed a lot, from the former position, as they say. So I remember when I was still in this, still in the corporation, I paid some money so that a listening post called a razor could direct my personal issues to the Holy Spirit or the egg. So, but the problems never went away. So I think these new friends thought that their problems would go away too when they joined the new presentation. So I don't know what you think about this, Duane.
Oh, thank you for bringing that up, because again, it's like we're like the Daily Planet here. That's the newspaper in the Superman series, and we're just every day it's something new. It's reporting the news, and yes, Miriam's going through what she's going through, and I don't see it as anything but a situation. I don't see it as problems or dilemmas or whatever, but you can use these ideas. I don't see it as that. We're all going through what we're going through because of the world is like it is. Let's kind of go back a little bit to when Paul started this, okay? And those of us that were in the corporation, and even through Darwin and Harold, whatever, okay, these are the babysitting days, we'll just say. And it's kind of like living with your parents, where everything seemed to be okay. Yes, you had your little personal situations. Maybe the girl in the class that you liked didn't like you or something like that, or you did have a girlfriend or boyfriend and you broke up with them, or you didn't make the basketball team because you couldn't run fast enough. Or you had these little situations, okay? But for the most part, you were taken care of by your parents, and life was good. That's the basic, lifestyle of, I would say, most of us. But then all of a sudden, as you got bigger, and all of a sudden you realized you had to go to work and do all these things in this drudgery, it's like you didn't want to do it. Well, this is kind of what's going on now. All right. In Paul's day, it was a particular. All right. I see those as the babysitting, the good old days, that people want to go back to, like the 50s, when life was supposedly simpler or whatever. But guess what? People were still being mind controlled back then. And even way before that. How long we had fluoridated water? 100 years now? Whatever it is, doesn't matter. It's always been there. It's just that now you're waking up to it. Now, these people that are going through these situations, I'm not going to explain it away. Everybody's a particular. And besides, just like going to a psychiatrist, you're hearing the effects, not the causes. So do you know what the person is deciding within themselves, what they're seeing? And yeah, that idea exists. I see it too with people. It's like, okay, well, we'll join the new presentation. And the guides, Rebazar and the boys, and the Israel, they'll take care of everything. Well, see, again, in the babysitting days, this is where we were coming up. And yeah, people prospered. I did too. I had a business. I had a family life. We prospered. Even Rebazar would tell me, okay, this year you're going to make $140,000 this year. I didn't. It's like, wow, are you kidding? How can I make that much? Well, anyhow, so, we were going through these different, patterns or routines or lifestyle at the time. Well, today, because of the agreement, more so with the reptilians and everything, more so than ever, and what's going on, well, there's a lot more restrictions that people have to deal with. And so now people are coming from their religions, from the corporations and whatever for the most part. And it was kind of a comfort zone, but now they realize that, oh my gosh, we're being attacked here and we've got tap lines and whatever. So now all of a sudden you're coming into the new presentation. Well, all those people that you agreed to and played part in to be possessed by also, okay, even your family members or whatever, it's all the same thing. Well, all of a sudden, they don't like you leaving, okay? They don't want you to leave. So they're going to hassle you, and especially on the real side. And they're going to do little funny things, and they're even going to do their black magic like they do, like the shamans and whatever in Africa and all these people. Yeah, they do it here too. It's the same done here too. So again, the individual has to decide, you want to go back to that? You want to agree to that? I'm sure it can be okay. They'll take care of you. They'll feed you. They'll house you. You'll be fine. You see, they'll nurture you. Then go back. Or, step out of the restrictions and deal with it. This is really how it is. I gave a book title in Lulu many years ago, and it's a cartoon caption on the front. It's this guy kind of shrugging his shoulders, and it says, "Sorry, it's the earth." And that's really what it is. It's the same for me. I go through struggles. I'm attacked. This is why I'm so grateful that Val and Kelsey came, simply because, and we're doing what we're doing. We got together because I was struggling with the rent. I even had to borrow money because I had spent all my IRAs. I didn't want to do the business anymore. I just wanted to focus on this. And I have other things that I'm doing, but at the same time, it wasn't coming through like I wanted it to. So it's been a heck of a struggle for me also. And there are people that think, oh, well, Duane's this, or he's a millionaire or whatever. Ask Val and Kelsey. No such thing. Okay? So again, and that's just part of it, because this is what the earth is today, because there is huge agreement to keep everybody restricted. And the biggest huge agreement that's going on is the unconscious part, where people want to be restricted. So you have a whole lot more to look at than ever before. It's just not a la-la land little spiritual path to where, oh, we just give everything to the master and he takes care of it and everything should get better. No, this is where you really wake up, you step forward, and you figure it out. That's real. And so this is where I suggest you get with others and you really have a realistic idea of what to do in this world. Okay? And so this is where, again, I suggest the Africans in some way get together. Yes, you do the groups, you get together like Miriam, but realistically, you see the bigger picture. The world is dying. It's being destroyed. The forests in the world, they're using laser planes to catch it all on fire. They want their 5G all over. They want more and more and more and more control. But that's just the surface world. From the unconscious side, through all of creation, the darkness is expanding because people keep agreeing to it. So yes, it's hell and high water to decide to step up and be real and to recognize this and stand real with it. Oh yeah, it is. So it's not the good old days anymore. Hey, when I had my business, I made a lot of money. And so did my wife, etc. We were fine. But today, it's not the same. I could go out there and still be the contractor I was for 40 years, but you know what? It's not the same. It's not going to be the same because everything has changed. It's more competition. The people from the South have come up. They've taken over everything. Everybody's bidding everything, that it's just like where you make almost nothing. I could go out there and work, and I don't even think I could afford the rent here. And so it doesn't behoove me to work. I'd rather be doing this to share this with you. But this is really what the world is today, Charles. It's very real. And so as you bring yourself into the moment and you just do what you can every single moment, because again, people are running past themselves with the idea, why isn't this working, whatever. Well, compare this idea with, what we're presenting, which makes sense. The new you does work. And it's not about the new you, things getting worse. That's the person's personal life and how are they seeing things and what are they doing about their personal life. I also, while I was still, spreading the message in the old days, I was doing something about my personal life. I wasn't sitting around thinking, oh, gee, Rivazar and the boys will take care of it. I never considered that. I never even asked, basically, for anything. I decide, and then I take the risk to see what comes of it. And so, again, this is how it is now, and the world is more restricted than ever. And all these people like Joni and them, ask Sandy here, her recent experience she had a couple weeks ago with Harry and Joni. They're still trying to tap line her on the real side. And so she took care of that herself. She didn't say that she begged, Rivazar to do it. She did the new you, and the tap line came off. She took care of it herself. You see, this is where we step up and we learn to take care of things ourselves. And at the same time, we can get together and share and support each other so that it's more of a reality. And it's not about power. It's about the awareness life is and recognizing this reality and doing what makes sense without harming others, etc. So we use the environment idea, which is very real, as a means to communicate with this world. And still, they don't even get that for the most part. Most people don't care. All they care about is their car, their job, the building they go to, and the movie house or the market or, wherever that they go to their next thrill, which is understandable. But at the same time, they're all agreeing to the demise of the world. So it's one person at a time taking the risk. And now all of a sudden, you got to be creative. You got to be very, very creative. And so I use people as examples, but we're all the same. We're all in the same position. We're all in the same life. And I'm just very grateful for myself to recognize this. This is what keeps me going, is the gratitude and not looking for something so much to speak. Yes, I want certain things to take place. But at the same time, and that's a struggle for myself that I have to deal with, but at the same time, I make sense every moment, with what to do. You can ask Val and Kelsey or Claudia or whatever, I'm closest to them. They see what's going on here. I'm not doing all kinds of far out strange things. I'm basically here like this every day with Ava and just doing little steps at a time, whatever is possible, you see, because I need agreement too. And just like this Skype, all of a sudden, it's great that people are here. You have the advantage, and each person decides what to do every single moment. But again, most people they're just going to go with their routines, and they've got some projected idea about their personal life. Well, again, I don't see any of that. I just see the is, and that's it, and what makes sense. And so, I liked living alone. I really did. I didn't mind paying the rent, whatever. I liked living alone. But at the same time, I realized, and I had seen this within myself, I saw that, okay, I got to get somebody in here to help me pay the rent. And I didn't want to do that because I have to deal with it. I didn't want to do that. But I did it just to survive, you see? Yeah. And most people won't do that. It's like, oh, this is my house. I don't want anybody else here. It's like, okay, then struggle. Your choice. And then what do? You just look at your struggling. Is that what you want to do? You know, I try to get people together to help each other, but you know what? All I see is resistance. Okay, fine, don't do it. There's a bigger picture. This is what the boys, this is what Rebazar and the real guys have been trying to do. They try to get people together to meet each other, to do certain things. But you know, you got the personal self there that just don't want to listen because it's got its own ideas and not seeing the bigger picture because you're just thinking of yourself. Okay, you're going to have to give up some parts of yourself. I did too. You know, I had the nice room in the house. Now I don't. I've got this little box on the other side of the house. But I'm grateful that the rent is paid and I don't have to be concerned about that anymore. So for now, that situation is taken care of. And so I'm just trying to make sense because I see that there's only so much time. And guess what? You know, when this 5G network goes on, plus everything else that they're doing in the world, yeah, you know, we're with the people with the green belt in the world. We want to be with them and others. But guess what? As soon as they build it, the elites can come in and blast it with their planes, which they'll probably will do. Because they already see that. They just let people do it, just like what J.P. Morgan did with Tesla. And that is that he let him build his tower, he let him build all the stuff, and then he destroyed it, and he stole his inventions and let him die, and they got rid of him. And this is the world. This is what it is. So in the meantime, you figure out what you can. So again, we're getting a little bit more real all the time with what this world and creation is, but there is a bigger picture, and this is where I'm really trying to get people to focus on what is really being presented. But you know what? It's like a bunch of wild horses running around. They don't want to focus. They just want to have their own ideas. Okay, fine. And this is where this real position that only a very few, if any, will see it, because it is happening. But you know, again, most people have their own personal ideas. I try to get people together to say, hey, look at this, and you'll learn from each other so that you can see the bigger picture. But no, they don't want to. They want their little personal lives, which they'll have anyhow. Nothing, just like in book 2 where I explained with Heather, she could have had her family. She could have had all her grandchildren. She had phenomenal experiences with the boys. They did everything for her. And then she said at some point, no. So now she got nothing except old age and more lifetimes. It's a choice. So Charles, yeah, you got to take the risk. You have to be creative, you know. I'm not being a hard nose here. I'm just trying to say, like a parent to a child, hey, you know, you got everything you need. Just wake up and figure it out a little bit. It's right there. Life will show you. But you're not going to figure it out if you keep carrying the same ideas that don't work. You see? Yeah, anything's possible. And it's not that you're going to instantly get it. It's just like when people, like what you're saying. Oh, well, gee, I came into the new presentation or whatever. Yeah, how long have they been here? A month, 6 months, a year, 5 years? Have they been here 50 years? No. They haven't, have they? That's like taking wanting to become a doctor, and you went to the college for 1 year, and it's like, well, gee, why aren't I the doctor yet? Well, it's going to take a whole lot longer, and even when you do get your little degree, you're still not the doctor. See? You're still not it. You know, when Darwin and Harry walked on stage, they weren't the master. You have to earn that. When Trump became president, it's not like, oh, all of a sudden, oh, I'm the president, I'm everything. No, you're not. Now you have to prove that you're the president. You see? There's a difference. Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it? All of a sudden, life just got bigger. And guess what? It's going to get a lot bigger. And you decide to keep up and become aware of it, or you stick to the same old mental patterns that ain't going to work anymore. all this spiritual stuff out there that looks good. I mean, every part of it, every word, idea, thought, emotion, consciousness, whatever, guess what? It doesn't work with the whole of life. None of it. You can trash all of it. It's a reference of what not to do, but guess what? None of it works. I don't care how nice of a person you are. There's a lot of good people on the earth, but they're not aware. They're unconsciously agreeing to the demise of themselves and everybody else. But they're good people. So what does that get you? You got to take the risk.
So we now want to join the the tree planting movement, form a green belt, which could impact the natural environment on this at this life level in a huge way. However, we've also been engaged in what I may call the metaphoric planting of trees on the unseen levels of life, and this will impact the all natural environment on those life levels too. So, can you tell us more about this the dense evergreen forest that we've planted on the real side of life, and how the ecology is being changed there, Duane?
Well, again, everything in creation is a reference to the is. And so just using this idea here in with what is going on the planet now, trying to relate to people in some way, or what I do is I keep adding to what I've already done, which I do with the groups and everything, with the books. There's the basics there. But at some point, enough's enough. Okay, enough talk. Let's do it. Just like little Felix, he has these pictures of kids standing next to adults, and the kid's hand is over the adult's mouth. Stop talking. Start planning. See, the thing is that we're here to recognize the is. That's the whole idea. It's not about making the ecology better or the environment. No, that's not the real purpose here. But we utilize these things because if you don't do that also, just like working at your job, you don't survive. And the thing is that you came here, and if it becomes all blackness and polluted, this is what individuals have to live with and go through, including ourselves or whatever, until we recognize the real universes or whoever that is, etc. Because again, it all goes hand in hand. There is creation, and what's the basic idea of many of these spiritual paths? They don't really so much care about the earth. Yeah, they do to plant their food and eat. Oh yeah, they care that much. But overall, it's like, oh, it's no big deal. The governments will handle it or whatever. They're the devil, or they're the dark side or whatever. Yes, that can be so. But realistically, whatever we're doing is just something to relate to. Okay, so I see that being part of these so-called movements, or whatever you want to call them, is fine. It doesn't really matter that people are doing something in the physical sense, because see, we're doing something, we're providing an awareness that is not available through hardly at all. The awareness it already is, but we're providing something that helps recognize this isness where other people aren't. But other people are doing their part, so this is where it adds to it. And hey, as long as I'm here, and I want to stay here for as long as it takes to do whatever, I don't see any time factor to it. Paul gave a time factor, and he stayed a little bit longer for me. He gave it 5 years when he took the rod of power. And it was a little over 5 years, then he left. He gave a time factor. I'm not giving a time factor. I don't see that. I don't see myself just floating off. That's not the idea, okay, for me or whatever. And then others just, okay, let's see if you can follow. No, that's not the idea. It's not that anymore. It's an isness. So, again, the picture is a lot bigger. So what I do is I look at the world, Charles, and I started off years ago with the basics: food, water, and air. First was food. In other words, more so than love and compassion and all these ideas, boy meets girl or whatever, okay, or what's the next movie coming out, it's food. And so little by little, I built upon that and eventually discovered the humanitarian projects. And I thought, well, I want to do that, because I was a general contractor and a builder and creative with what I did. And so we've come along to this time right now. So I look at the world on a moment-by-moment basis, and especially with Val and Kelsey here, and also Ava mainly to relate to, and Claudie. But we're doing the galactic thing, which surpasses all this, and most people just are not going to understand this. But because that's the bigger picture of why the planet is like it is, so I'm very focused there. And so using whatever, and if it's the next day that things change, then it's like, okay, now we're going over here. Okay, now we're going to go do this, because all of a sudden, we went through this step. Now it's opening up over here. Now we're going to go over here. We're going to run out that door instead of the one we thought or whatever, you see? So it's moment by moment. I'm not looking to establish something other than what life is, not establish something that it isn't. So again, everything that I've created is a reference. Yeah, I would say it's the best reference around, but you really have to understand it, and you really have to take time. And the best part of the reference is what you really realistically learn to see, and you will demonstrate that or you won't. That becomes it. So I look at some of these people that have come through the corporation as an example, and as long or some of them longer than I have, and it's like, well, what did you learn there? And they're still basically doing the same thing. So again, it's kind of like Paul said, the individual, for the most part, as it faces the world, wants to get back to the mother's, inside the mother where it was safe and warm and cozy. And it's true. It's true. This is why most people just do their same routines over and over, and they see themselves retiring and comfortable in their own way, in their own minds. I don't see that at all. And the situations that I had in my personal life, especially with my family, at the time when I was a contractor and my former wife was an educator and there was my daughter, etc. Oh yeah, it was a perfect life. It was. And you know what? At the best of times, at the very pinnacle, I left, you see, to do this. And I had 2 other girlfriends after that, and another really good one down in Laguna. She was rich. And she had the house and she wanted me to stay there. It's in the book 2. That was Linda Cooper. You know what? At the best of times, when it was all set up and I just ready to move in, I left because I was to do this. I saw it. I left. I went through that. That's it. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about my personal life. It was to do this. So what makes sense in the world? What I see, Charles, with the Greenbelt thing, oh yeah, again, like Gaddafi and what he did and brought up water, and the organic farming that he did was awesome. I would suggest everybody study this. And then at some point, the United States, labeled him a dictator and destroyed everything with lithium bombs, bombed him, bombed all this stuff, etc., and cast him out as a dictator or whatever. No, they just wanted to take over. It's always a takeover. So, but at least moment by moment, and let's see what happens from that. You're doing something. So I don't know what the outcome will be, but it's more than evident, just like the deer walking out there on the openness, the open fields in Africa, and wanting to get the prime grass out there to eat. Well, also knows that the lions are out there, you see. Yeah, and the deer can start a club saying, like a donatememe.org. They could start a club and they could all stand there with signs. But do you think the lions care? They don't care. They don't care how official it is. They're going to eat you anyhow. So this is how the world is, so you take the risk. So in the meantime, we go a step at a time. We do what we can. Or we justify not doing anything by saying, oh, well, this is going to happen and that's going to happen, so I don't see it's not worth it. Well, okay, then you just do nothing, you go back to your routine, and guess what? You don't think life sees that? It sees everything you decide. See, this is where the intent comes in. You know, you want to stand real with the is, your intent better be 100% real with the is, because if it's not, it sees that and you ain't going to be standing there. That's it. It's up to you. So this is where you take the risk. So again, like I said before, it's a love affair. It's more than just taking the risk. You know, this is my life. This is my intent, is this reality, to do whatever I can on every particular level. There is no me. There's just doing this because this is what life is. It is more awesome even than I can see. You know, I already know that what I don't see is even better than what I do see, but it's not about me. It's about this isness. And so in accordance with what I do see and compare it accordingly with what is going on here, because these individuals are struggling, they're part of this isness too. And the reality of life is that we all stand real with each other. So I'm taking on this adventure to do whatever I can with whatever exists here that's been decided, and it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But I just see right now the tree thing is the least amount of restrictions and restraints to get involved with, and all of a sudden you got huge agreement there too. You've got these individuals that are already seeing what's going on. Just here, you've got huge agreement there. And so that is the focus until something else comes up, until we more establish ourselves. But through that, you know, it's not about laying on the worldwide educators or the new presentation about with people. That's not my idea. Again, it's a presentation. I'm here as an individual, and I'm seeing if other individuals will step up and just simply become involved with what makes sense. Not just off in your la-la land where, you know, again, you know, people have careers, and if you ask people their you know, what their career is, it's like, oh, okay, I'm a doctor or I'm a lawyer or whatever. But actually, they're duh. Their career is being duh because they're not taking the time to see what's going on in this world. This has become a business world, but guess what? It ain't a business world. It's about survival, and it's about making sense right now of everything. And so this is where I suggest certain people get together and make sense, share the experiences, become more aware, get past your personal stuff that you keep hanging on to, because again, you can't take it with you. And the thing is that you ain't going anywhere until you wake up anyhow. So the idea is that learn to be 100% standing real with this business, with your intent, not with an idea in your mind thinking that, oh, I'm in the group here, it's all taken care of. No, it's not. You have to prove yourself every moment. I do. I have to prove myself every single moment. I have to watch that because I can go any way, which way at all with my free will. I have to prove it every single moment. I do not take it for granted. So what is taking place in the world now, this is whatever it is, and whatever's going to happen with it is going to happen. You know, we've seen things come and go, and it's going to happen again. People come back, they recreate it, whatever. But for now, this is something, and the college that Val is working with is applying to, etc. You know, a step at a time. And as you get into these things, again, like OCC, it looked good for a while, but then it got, you know, more sticky and more sticky. It's kind of like walking through quicksand. It got worse and worse until basically you sink because, again, you can't go any further because they won't let you. So, but we just keep doing this, but through the adventure and the risk, you become more aware little by little. And it's not a matter of looking for change. It's what I look for is those individuals that step up that are really sincere. I look for sincerity in what they're deciding and will they follow through. That's the biggie, is to follow through. Again, most people just take the knowledge and they're gone because they're the know-it-alls and that's all they've got. Life sees everything. So when you see the bigger picture, when it's life in front of you, okay, more so than any personal desire or whatever, and do your personal desires make sense with the whole of life. You decide. So again, it's standing real. So what we're doing and these ideas, I'm just taking a look at the world the best that I can, and I don't know it all. And Val, Val has, Val was the gardener, the landscaper. Now look at Val. He's on the computer. He's researching. He's bringing these things forward, etc. And Kelsey had her lifestyle before, but now look at what she's doing. She's stepped up. She takes care of all the websites. They're starting businesses with Henry and Eric and whatever. The kids are getting together. They're stepping up. They're doing something. They're getting together and sharing these experiences. And they're becoming more aware. And that will all equal something because the boys are there. This is how the guidance comes in. Once you decide something that makes sense, they will back you. But if you just sit there and you're just looking at your own personal life and what you want to do, well, they're there. But that's something for you to decide. They're looking at the bigger picture. Are you? They see your intent. They really do. You can't hide that. But you can pretend that, oh, I'm doing this and I'm giving and I'm doing all that, which is fine. That's part of it. That's a step. All I'm saying is that there's more for everybody to where there are no restrictions. And that is that even your desires and dreams are all restrictions. They really are. So when you can stand real 100% with the is, you have no restrictions, but only you can decide that. It's amazing, but you are the decider of that every single moment. So in the meantime, yes, we're going to go through our things. Hey, we're going to go out at the restaurant or the movies once in a while. We're going to go surfing once in a while. Yeah, these are things we do with the physical body because it needs what it needs. But the intent is there and doing something. So I see the trees, again, I'm really focused on this because it's not really about the trees, Charles. It's about the agreement with the ideas of the trees and the environment and whatever. It all makes sense because the trees create the oxygen for the world, and they're trying to destroy them and make everybody suffer and choke. They don't care because they know that people will come back into future bodies. So as long as they're miserable and suffering here, they don't have their attention on their real awareness. They'll just give them medications and they'll get them back in new bodies again to suffer even more. That's really the pattern of things. So in the meantime, we've got this small window to utilize what is being created on the earth to make it into something. But we do it one person at a time, or if we can get in there as worldwide educators, fine. But I'm not pushing that. I'm not pushing the new presentation. I see every person like you here and every other person here. We are unique individuals. We are free beings of real light, and we decide how we're going to stand real with each other. This is what I look at all the time, and this is what the boys look at. How will they help the individual position themselves so they have the awareness to recognize how to stand real with this isness, and each person that decides that also. There's the real idea. What we're doing in the physical is just something as a reference to that to see who will step up and become more aware.